Hey everyone. Late at night, so if I fall asleep in the middle of this video, you understand why. The only time I have to do these really is when the kids are asleep. Samantha always wants to help, bless her heart, but wow. She kind of goes a little overboard, much like her gramps. So almost able to get a job soon to become a working mom that is also going back to school. I'm also now the head of a ministry at church. On top of that, I'm still helping with Bells of Hope ministry over in Uganda, trying to get Pastor Jimmy Tom over here. And he's planning on being here in November, so hopefully the consulate says yes. But yeah, I'm one of those people that I guess I just can't be happy unless I've got such an overloaded plate that I feel like I'm going to pull my hair out. So yeah, that is what it is. So I was thinking today, as I was just watching my kids, how important it is to make time for family. That everybody's always going, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that, I can't take my kids to the park because there's just not enough hours in the day, I come home and my kids, it's time for them to go to bed and things like that. But how important is it that your kids have to be in bed at a certain time when the only time they get to see you is right before bedtime? Maybe you can push their bedtime back a little bit. My kids are pretty young, so I can get away with that because they can sleep for a while the next day. But I usually try to get them in bed by 8. But if for some reason this job they put me on the swing shift, it ends at 11 o'clock. So I'll see them in the morning, but I'm going to be relying on my mom, who will be mainly watching them, and my husband to get them in bed at a normal time so that they're up bright and early so they can be with me. But it may not work out that way because, my mom's house, when the girls are over there, they're lucky if they're in bed by midnight because that's just kind of the hours they keep. They don't even eat dinner until 7 or 8 o'clock. And around here, we're 5 o'clock because we're in bed by 8, and it just doesn't work that way. And Chris, bless his heart, is just not really good about making them go to bed. He just kind of turns on the TV and keeps them breathing. It's just, he's your typical, father figure, go figure, So it's going to be a hard transition. But, I have been spending my last few days just really focusing on the kids and giving them time with me and really playing with them. We took them to the park today. I took my mom into town. She had a couple of doctor's appointments, and I took the kids to the park while we waited for her at the doctor, and boy, they played hard. I forgot, park days are kind of exhausting for me to sit there and watch them endlessly, especially when I have Luke and he can't get up and run around and play like they do because he's only 7 months. I'm pretty much his attention, so I'm watching him and I'm having to watch them and everything, which just was craziness because the park was packed today. But the good thing is they both came home. Samantha just does not nap anymore. She's 4 years old, and she seems to think naps are a thing of the past. It's for babies. And that's so not true. But both of them, they slept. They both fell asleep the minute they got in the car. And they slept. I carried them both in, put them in their beds, and they slept maybe a good hour even after they got home. It was a half-hour drive from Carson, so it was about an hour and a half nap, which is not so bad. Luke came home. The park apparently was hard on him, too. He slept, most of the way home, and then he slept maybe 2 hours after I got him home. Got him kind of cleaned up a little bit. He was all wet. We sat in the grass, and it was soaking wet, and it was hot, though, so it wasn't so bad. I had a wet butt, but, it is what it is. Anyway, but it's important, and I was reading an article the other day that my sister-in-law posted that your kids are your legacy, all that stuff. I mean, you hear that all the time, but what you don't hear and the things you don't think of is whether you believe in Satan or, evil or whatever. there's evil in this world trying to trip you up and make you a bad person, trying to bring out the worst in you. And my kids have a nickname for me, and I hate to admit it, but we've all been there. But they call me Monster Mommy when I finally just get to that point where I'm just like losing it with them, because it's just been one thing after another. They've been really bad all day long, and I've just had it. And I even bought them necklaces, little hearts, in their favorite colors. I bought me one that matches. And sorry, I have allergies. My eyes are all watery and my nose is trying to run everywhere. But I bought them that necklace so that every time they look down at it, they know that even when I'm yelling at them, I'm disciplining them, doing whatever, I'm totally losing my mind with them, that I still love them. That at no point will they ever not have love for me. There's nothing in this world they could do that would make me not to love them. Even if they looked at me and said, "Mom, I hate you, I don't want anything to do with you," I'm still going to love them. I'm their mom. Every mom, there's days where you're just like, "Oh, I'm selling you to the circus," But deep down, you never would even begin to think about something like that. The thought of losing your kids, it would just destroy you. And it's just one of those things. But those are those times that, whatever evil you believe in is trying to trip you up. And that's why it's so important you have good quality time with your kids, because they know you love them and things like that. Because evil is going to try to monopolize every ounce of your time and pull you away from them and just drive you insane. They're going to do things like the terrible twos. Your kid's going to do stuff that breaks you. Like I told you about Marilyn breaking 4 dozen eggs all over my house. That day, Monster Mommy was full bore. And I always sit there and think, going, how in the heck does she even think to do this stuff? Well, that's that little bit of evil that is just thinking, hey, this is a good idea. Let's see what you do. And instead of me loving my daughter and patiently taking a step back and just loving her and explaining to her why that was a bad idea and not just totally losing my head over it, I was screaming and yelling, and I didn't know to spank her, to put her in timeout, to send her to her room. I didn't know what, I remember yelling at her, "Get in timeout," and then like 2 seconds after she's in timeout, "Get over here and help me clean this up." And I had lost it. And then because I was so angry with her sister, who was just trying to stay out of my way because I was psycho, I was yelling at her. Everything she did all suddenly irritated me, and I was robbing her of mommy love and stuff like that too. Then Luke is crying because I'm screaming, and it was not good all around. We all have those moments that we're so not proud of. And with all this stuff that I'm bringing on, I know my stress level is going to be higher, and I know it's going to make it easier to not find time for them. It's going to be easier to let that evil work its way into my life and bring Monster Mommy out a whole lot more. And that's really why it's important that I take the time to do fun stuff with my kids. That, because when they're at the park, they behave. They're not at the house smashing eggs all over the floor because they're bored. They're not destroying the house. Their room is not this disgusting mess because they're not in here, just bored and got nothing else to do. If I take them to the park, well, they go to the park and they play and then they take a nap. It's like, really, it's kind of obvious solution to the problem. So I got to take some time out of my day, and being a redhead, I have to load up on sunscreen every 5 minutes. But is it really that bad? Make it fun. Make it, go to the park, relax, get some sunshine and some fresh air. Or if it's too cold or if it's too hot, find something else to do. I used to take the kids to McDonald's, to the play place. And while it's usually so incredibly loud in there, they enjoy it. And then I just get myself like a big iced tea or something and just sit there and read my book or something like that, because I know they can't get out. I always sit right by where the door is so that nobody can get to them. It's an open area. It's safe. They're not going to get by me. They can't get out the other door because it's got an alarm on it. So it's not so hard. So really focus on not allowing the evil in your life and the busyness of life step in the way of the blessing it is to be a parent. There's people all over the world that can't be a parent for one reason or another, and whether it's your kid or, you've taken on another person's kid or whatever, even if you're a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or whatever, that child is a blessing in your life. And yeah, there's going to be times that they're going to drive you nuts and make you angry. And they need to know that what they've done has made you angry. But don't totally flip out on them. Don't just lose every ounce of, love for them that this other person takes over. I know it's easier to just get mad and react. But even if you get to that point, take a step back and grab them up and hug them up and say, I'm sorry, I overreacted. I was really angry. Explain to them why it made you angry and apologize to them. And you'd be amazed that they're smart. Even my 2-year-old, I'll hug her up and say, I'm sorry that I was monster mommy today, but what you did was really bad, and this is why. You can't break eggs all over the floor because they cost money, and it made a big mess, and you saw that it took mommy a long time to clean it up, and it just was not a good thing. You're not supposed to be in the fridge and things like that. And, and I apologized to her, and she hugged me up and told me she loved me and that she forgives me and asked me to forgive her for being a bad girl, and she's not touched the eggs ever since. I took that 2 minutes and loved on my child and explained to them, mommy sometimes loses her cool, but you gotta just chill, and they handle that, and it sets a boundary for them. Kids need boundaries. Discussing what they did wrong on their level is not always going to work for every kid. Some kids really need to be spanked. Some kids you can get down on their level and just say, hey, this is not good behavior. Please don't do it again. Or, don't hit. Have nice hands. That stuff works for some kids. Some kids, you feel like you're beating them every 2 minutes, Because I believe in spanking. I grew up spanked. My brothers did. My cousins did. Almost everybody I know did. And none of us are any different. If anything, we respect authority more. We knew what our boundaries were. None of us had our personalities squelched or, felt abused or whatever. There is a fine line between abuse and discipline. But, that's the other thing, too, is, if you're going to spank, or you're the type that's going to yell at your child or something like that, put them in timeout. Give yourself a little bit of time to take a deep breath, calm down. Then when they come out of timeout, if you're going to spank them, then you spank them. Or you discuss what they've done wrong, then you're not totally psycho and reacting to the moment. You're giving yourself that couple of seconds or a few minutes, because I know I follow the rule that it's a minute for every year they are old in timeout, and give yourself that time to just stop and breathe. If they've taken a bag of flour and spread it all over your house, or broken eggs everywhere, or they were beating the snot out of their brother or sister, or whatever, just take that time, but like I said, focus on quality time, because quality time is better than quantity. I'm with my kids every day, all day long. And I think that's half the problem is I don't value my time with them as much. And I know in the next couple of years when it takes me to get through school and everything, and now that I'm going to be working and everything, that time is really going to come as like a jewel. It's going to be, every minute is going to be cherished. So anyway, I love you all. Praying for you all to be better parents, loving parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whatever. Hang in there. You'll make it. Trust me.